Hello and welcome back. Episode 62, Second Look Sports Pod. We have the majority of our crew here. We got myself, Alex Mandarino, Cristian Chiniti, Justin Arnberg, hanging by a thread with his Montreal Canadiens. I pumped you up last week. We have to tell it like it is this week, unfortunately. We will get to that. But unfortunately, we do have some sad news to pass along to kind of kick things off. This did come out not long before the podcast is starting to record today. But legendary Montreal Canadiens, San Jose Shark, Colorado Avalanche, New Jersey Devil, Claude Lemieux has passed away at the age of 60. This is coming off the backs of a few days ago. He was carrying out the torch for Game 3 of the Eastern Conference Finals with the Montreal Canadiens. And obviously that kind of gets the crowd going. And a legend like that, four-time Stanley Cup champion, back-to-back Stanley Cup champion with the New Jersey Devils in 95 and then Avalanche in 96, I believe. First year that the Devils had won a Stanley Cup in their franchise history. He was the Conn Smythe, four-time Cup champion, like I said, 1,215 games, 379 goals, 786 points. So, and aside from that, he was a guy, like, the big takeaway from him was the Chris Draper hit. I think a lot of people, I know from an infamous standpoint, put Draper into the boards in the Western Conference Finals. Detroit, Colorado, big rivalry, and Lemieux obviously putting himself in the middle of that. He was that agitator, the guy who had tons of penalty minutes, but could still put up the numbers and kind of back it up. So sad in general, for sure. He was a player agent after the fact. I think he represented Freddie Anderson, and he had a lot to comment to say. He's like family to me. So obviously upsetting news to start things off. I don't know if anybody has anything to add or any like thoughts of Lemieux before we kind of move on, but the floor is yours. Justin, pass it over to you for this.
Crazy to see on Monday him carry out the torch for the Montreal Canadiens to get them ramped up for Game 3, and that moment inside that building, just seeing him come back inside the building, being the one to carry the torch, it really meant something, and like everyone was freaking out about it in a good way. And honestly, just looking at him, he didn't look like someone that was on the last days of his life. And we obviously don't know the cause of death yet. It's obviously tremendously sad. Rest in peace to him, and thoughts to his family, and prayers for them as well. But just looking at him on Monday night, it did not look like a guy that was, a near 72 hours away from like having his last breath. Like it did not look like that. He looked healthy. He looked fine. I just wonder what was going on, and if he knew that, like, and just didn't tell anyone, like in the sense of like his family and stuff knew, but like he wanted to do this one last thing, and then he knew that would be it. I don't know. It's obviously speculation, but just prayers to him and his family. And yeah, it's kind of crazy just to think about the time lapse from Monday to Thursday.
Yeah.
I echo the same thoughts in terms of, prayers to the family for sure. And just as far as like hockey is concerned, he's one of those guys I think that would be synonymous with that 90s, early 2000s era of hockey, right? I think, for me, it's slightly before my time, but he reminds me, like, and with the stories you hear about him, he was basically the Justin Williams before Justin Williams. He was kind of the guy lauded as this is the dude who turns it up to 10 when it's playoffs, right? The idea of regular season and playoffs are two different things, and Claude Lemieux was a playoff guy. And so, he's obviously been in the game as much as, from a player standpoint, and to this day, right? Like what we talked about, the player agent part of it. And his son as well was in the NHL very recently, I want to say within the past couple of years. So definitely stretches across multiple generations of hockey. And really tough to see.
And I'm just looking here too. He played a few years, like really minimal amount of games, drafted by Montreal, 26th overall in 83. So, and he's from Quebec, Buckingham, it looks like the birthplace, but his technically like third year, I guess he's still probably a rookie, 9 games. So he played 9 games over 2 years to start his career. And then in 86, he won the cup with the Canadiens. Like, that's insane. Like, to have he had 16 points in 20 games in the playoffs. So I'm sure guys like that, especially in Montreal, like, you're beloved immediately. If you're part of a cup team and you kind of have an impact in any capacity. So obviously a sad day. And upsetting for a lot of people. But we'll move on. But that being said, just condolences to the family and everybody that across the hockey world on that one, really. Before we do pivot to the Canadiens, I know Claude was obviously a big ambassador for them. I think we should start by talking about the other series that's wrapped up already. If you've lived under a rock, Vegas did sweep Colorado in 4 games. I don't think a lot of people had this specific result on their bingo cards. As the Western Conference was sort of shaping up, I think you can make the case that Vegas was turning into a powerhouse, right? But they hadn't necessarily faced any difficulty, and that was sort of placed especially at the feet of a Mitch Marner that a lot of people were dogging him. There's a lot that goes into it. We can break it and dissect it down. But on the same side, 4-0 against Colorado. And I don't know, was the result, we talked about it, was the result a surprise specifically because of the Colorado side and how they weren't able to sort of hang any sort of success on their feet of Jared Bednar and Nate McKinnon and, half of basically Cale Makar? I'm curious, Cristian, let's go to you for this. Like, how did you kind of find the series played out, and were you surprised at the result?
Yeah, I mean, let's pick up the conversation from where we left off, right? A lot of it from last episode, it was just after game 1. We're talking about the absence of Cale Makar. He obviously didn't play game 2, played game 3 and 4, I believe it was, and didn't really end up making a difference. That felt like the theme, but I think the thing that I brought up was the secondary scoring, kind of the guys that aren't named Cale Makar, Nathan McKinnon, who, when they have visible injuries that they're dealing with, where is everyone else? And, outside of like when they go up 3-0 there in game 3, like Kadri getting in on it, it was very sporadic. And one of the guys I think the lack of offense falls to is Martin Necas, because this is a guy who's had the history of playoff disappearances, really. And yeah, it just, he didn't really rise to the occasion when the other guys in his, on his level, he's the guys who can hang with those players. He didn't really take charge, really. You can't put it at the feet of any single one person on the ice or off the ice. Cough, cough, Jared Bednar. Total surprise, though. Total surprise. Not only on the ice, but how these guys were talking after game 3. The series had been over. Like, I think that's as close as I've seen to a series. Like, they were already resigned to the fact that they were not coming back. I don't even know if they felt they were going to get one game there. They obviously didn't end up doing it. I can't recall seeing a team that demoralized when there's still hockey to be played. That's my biggest takeaway.
Yeah. I mean, the other thing is, another player I'd point out is Brock Nelson. Brock Nelson was nowhere to be found either. You look at him in the regular season, over 30 goals, just like Marty Necas, over 30 goals in the regular season this year. And in the playoffs, they were just passengers. They just, I don't know what it was. They just simply didn't have it in the tank. Lehkonen was another player who I didn't find gave much. Obviously, he was injured in game 4, but before that, Netushkin was a disappointment as well in these playoffs. So yeah, you talked about Pat being the secondary scoring needing to show up when Cale Makar and Nathan McKinnon weren't going or aren't able to really compete at their full full level when they're not healthy in these playoffs. And just no one really stepped up other than outside of, like you said, game 3 for the first period. You had Landeskog, you had Kadri, and I think you had Jack Drury score that third goal as well. But outside of that, it was nothing. Like, and in game 4, even they tried changing up the goaltending to give McKenzie or to put Blackwood in, and I thought he was pretty solid. He was good enough to win the game, but they just simply could not beat the Vegas Golden Knights defensive pressure, and couldn't produce any offense. It was honestly a defensive clinic by the Vegas Golden Knights in that game, in game 4. And that's usually the hardest game to win, but it looked like the easiest for them. They just literally gave Colorado nothing the entire game. So yeah, that would be my biggest takeaway is, like you said, too many passengers in that series, and especially for guys like Brock Nelson and Marty Necas. Those are the two guys that you look at and say, where were you during that series?
Yeah, you look at Vegas and it's like it's not they who scored the goals in Game 4. Yes, Mark Stone scored, right? So he's a guy who immediately puts them up.
Yeah.
Then Cole Smith scores, assisted by Dylan Coghlan, and you're like, who is Dylan Coghlan? He scores the goal a couple games ago, first one in 2 years or something, and can be said about any team, right? In the score and their playoffs, there's basically goaltending can win and depth scoring wins, and especially in the later rounds. And when you're talking about Marty Necas, Cristian, I agree. And it's funny though, because he had 13 points in 13 games this playoffs, but he had 2 assists in the game, the sweep, right? So it's showing up at the right moments. You can put up 3 assists against Minnesota when you're sort of in a good spot, and that is an important series to win as well. That's not sort of understated. But there was a couple of shifts in Game 4 where I actually sort of started paying attention, and I thought one in particular, I don't have to dissect it, but I'm like, this is not Colorado. This is barely an NHL team. It was just some of the worst play, and it just felt like they were done. You said it after Game 3. There was a viral clip, I don't know if you guys saw this, of Bednar at the casino, right? So that made its way around Twitter.
I don't know what I
believe. I don't know if that's from this.
Yeah, I don't think that's
this might not
like
be
a regular
recent
season trip to Vegas, but
exactly.
I mean,
It didn't get
honest,
any traction.
We've seen like I remember when was it the Florida series where Toronto went like on a fishing trip in between rounds, and like that was
it might have been
right. Like there's been so many of these. It really doesn't matter.
It
like
doesn't
none
matter.
None of that matters.
And that's
man.
the thing is after
especially
Game
for the
3,
coach. Like,
oh yeah, well, what's he gonna do? Yeah, it's not like anything's changing, man. Like,
yeah, man.
It felt like the minute you give up that 3-0 lead, that Game 3 was pivotal for so many reasons. I don't know if that would have made any difference because Vegas just seemed to have everything together. And we haven't talked about Carter Hart. We've talked more on the Colorado side, understandably, because it was so shocking. We can get to Vegas, but they never really found a rhythm. And I think a lot of people started to predict they might not even get one. And that's all they needed was basically that one goal to sustain the majority of the game. And then you add a little bit of an insurance marker. I'm kind of curious because a big conversation has been McKinnon, like obviously the injuries, but I don't know if his body language or the way he's kind of managing the team I feel like it's starting to come into question. Like, is the body language, is the negative on ice attitude starting to sort of, because it's a fine line. Like it shows he's very competitive, but at the same time, when you're losing, I feel like I wonder if a lot of his teammates feed into that because he's like a very emotional leader. I don't know if anybody buys into that, but Justin, do you have a thought on it at all?
I do wonder whether or not like some guys find it too demanding. But also at the same time, that's been a tight-knit group in the sense of like a lot of their core has stayed together for a very long time. And I think they understand the level that they want to play at and the level that he wants to play at. And he's like, obviously he expects a lot of it of everyone, but I think this is fair to say he expects the most out of himself. I don't think he expects anything more from anyone else than himself. So I would assume that like, even though he does look like he's getting emotional on the bench, and it can look negative. Some guys maybe have left in the past because of that, maybe, but I feel like most of these guys that have either signed long-term there and have played with McKinnon for a very long time, they don't mind that, and they just know that that's a part of who he is now, and they know that that he wants the best out of them. And he wants them to succeed. And that's probably the way that I would look at that. But I do understand the point of like, hey, this could be a negative thing. And maybe that is for a couple players on the team. But if it was a larger issue, I feel like more people would probably want out of the situation. In the sense of like, hey, Marty Necas comes into a situation, he's like not even sure if he's going to re-sign there. And then he just signs for 8 years at $11.5 million. So, like you look at that situation and you're like, okay, maybe it's more so like obviously he's demanding, he's pushing, he looks negative, but players respond to that the same way that they respond to a coach yelling at them.
Yeah.
I really don't know how to pinpoint it. Like, I think there is something to, at the very least, just the mental side of it, whether that's just on McKinnon and how he handles things mentally and how that, bleeds out to the dressing room or them as a team. This is a really hard one to just rack your brain around because up until Game 1 of this series, it had been basically a flawless season. I think, like Justin, we were having the conversation about preemptively, where do you put this team among the best teams to win a Stanley Cup? Like, we were ready to do that.
Oh, don't
right?
worry. I made a video and it's blown up viral because,
sweet.
they got swept by the Vegas Golden Knights in the third round.
Well,
so
I bring it up just to say, like, I'm trying to think of just things going so sideways so quickly. And this is one where it's like, you want the 30 for 30 of what happened in between the series to change the mindset. How do you, right? Like, they lost a game, right? Like, but like that shows then that the team needs to be mentally stronger. If the news entering the dressing room is Cale Makar has a serious injury, guys, and the difference is going from President's Trophy winner team that, goes 8-1 into the conference finals to what they look like here. And we'll see if there's more injuries. Like, we'll see what else there is as part of this puzzle. But I am left with the idea that, like, and people have had this conversation, is them winning the cup in 22 or 23? 22, right?
22.
Yes.
22.
Yeah, them winning the cup in 22, is that the exception opposed to the rule for this Colorado Avalanche era?
Yeah.
And there is a theme to be found in some of their other losses. And I think the theme is that they all lose in dramatic fashion. Like, losing to the Kraken the year after you win the cup, that is dramatic. That's a team who's in the second year of their existence and had no expectations to knock them off. So that was dramatic. Losing to Rantanen, right? The Rantanen game, right? Don't even have to say more. And, losing in the conference final. None of these were just, hard-fought. The Rantanen one is a hard-fought series, but it just felt, like a gut punch. They don't lose series regularly. They lose them in dramatic fashion. So I don't know what there is to draw from that, but it's just an observation I've had from looking at them over these years now.
Well, the crazy part is, like, I don't know how you guys feel about this, but, like, is that the best chance of Makar and McKinnon getting number 2? Like, is that the Avalanche window shutting down? Because Landeskog's, I think, 34 turning 35 or 33 turning 34, and Kadri's going to be 36 next year. And, like, Brock Nelson's getting older. He's in his early 30s now.
Tays, even McKinnon's 31.
Even McKinnon's 31 next year. Like,
31,
is the core, like, is that the end of the Avalanche's, I guess, window? Like, is that a possibility? Is it crazy to say that they're only going to get one? Like,
I see you shaking your head, Cristian. I'm actually curious because I thought this, and I'm just like, who? So the East has those up and coming teams. Montreal is probably at the forefront. Buffalo's up there. Hopefully, like, Detroit has been talked about like they're going to be. That's the East. But it feels like when you look at the teams that are rebuilding in the East, you're going to have to fight through a lot of traffic. And yes, there's your Chicagos and your San Jose's and, like, maybe the Utahs, but there's no juggernaut team in the West outside of Colorado that I'm like, oh man, like, we can't get past them.
There's one team.
There's San Jose, there's Anaheim,
but
there's Anaheim coming. Anaheim is coming.
I don't know,
though. No, but this is the other thing, though. This is just like, once again, let's put ourselves in our shoes let's ask ourselves this exact question in between round 2 and 3. Do we answer the same? Like, are we saying the window's closed? You know what I mean? Like, before this Vegas series, right?
No,
you know what I mean? Like,
right.
But the thing is,
and this is a question about not just this year; it's about future years. So why are we saying that the window is closed?
But if you can't get it done this year, what do you mean?
Because, dude, we can look through
Are we
history.
just gonna chalk this one up to injuries?
We thought Crosby might have only had one cup, right? Who the hell had them winning with the blue line of Chad Ruedel and Jason Daly and Mark Streit and Ron Hainsey? I'm saying, as long as you have Cale Makar, Nathan McKinnon, Martin Necas on it, like, you're always going to be trying to win, and as long as you're trying to win and the results show that you're a playoff team, like, that is your window. Like, that is the window. If you're gonna, like, come on them and say, well, what do they have to be better at? Maybe it's drafting. Like, they've obviously hit on, and I'm saying, like, in this era, like, McKinnon is, like, to me, still from the last era of the Avalanche. Yes. Makar is this era. Outside of Makar, where are the real hits? Like,
I remember they drafted hits. Well, they had Tyson Jost one year, and I remember being like, and that was
his comparable was Jonathan Toews. Yeah. It was like, here's the 2C of the future for the Avalanche. Martin Kaut. Does that who the
They
hell
also
on the starting
drafted-
count, right?
They also
God.
drafted Bowen Byram and then traded him for Casey
That's
Middlestat.
true. And
So-
look where
Terrible management.
Miko Rantanen's gone.
Yes.
Right? Like
and
it's weird.
trades have been one of the strengths
course.
of this team, right?
Devin
Another one I look
Taves.
at. Yeah, Devon Taves was a trade, right? 2 second-round picks,
Devon
wonderful
Taves.
deal,
Yeah, yeah.
wonderful,
That was a great
wonderful
deal. That was a great
Yeah.
deal.
What was I going to bring up here? Not the Byram trade. There's another one here I'm forgetting of in terms of a move where I'm
Defenseman,
like, God.
forward.
No, I think it was a forward. Anyways, like I think that's where I'm looking at. The draft record. Oh, Cal Ritchie. They trade him for Brock Nelson, right?
Oh,
Like,
yeah,
that's
yeah,
it.
yeah.
Oh, that's
So that's
tough now.
that's one where it's like, oh, you actually you drafted well. Does Cal Ritchie in the next 2 years on his entry level deal help you more than Brock Nelson making what he is now? Right? Like that's a conversation, and that was brought up when the trade was made that it was very expensive. So yeah, like
Yeah.
I'm not going to say windows closed. I don't even want to say windows closing. We'll
Okay,
see
but
also
does
as well what
this-
happens
does
with the
this-
GM and the coach.
Do you think that they
Yes.
end up with just one cup?
No, I'm going to say no. I'm going to say no. I will
How many
say
cups
that
do they end up with? 2? 3?
I say they
Like,
get
how
one
many
more.
more? One more.
Okay,
Yeah.
let's go with one more.
I actually don't. Yeah, I don't know, man. I just think it's so hard to win. It's so hard to
Like,
win.
Minnesota's there.
Yeah, it is.
I thought Tampa
Dallas
would win
is there.
more.
Yeah.
Like I thought Tampa would
Tampa.
win more. And I mean, look, no, it's funny because no one is saying. I feel like no one says that the Tampa Bay wins, both being in 2020 and 2021, like they weren't considered like a COVID championship. Or I feel like in other sports they are. Like the Lakers, like a lot of people are like they didn't actually win. I don't think anybody compares to because Tampa was dominant and they were right there.
They already
for so
felt
many
like they were
years.
due for them, right? Yes,
Exactly.
Like,
And
you
then
go
you get
back to
back
they
to
were there
back.
since 2015, right? Like
That is the thing, and they were always around. So I don't know. All this to say, I think it's so hard to win, and I just find it hard where you are having an aging core, and you have to consider that. Now, if they do make a management change, or if they do make only for sake of, let's say, a Nashville takes Chris McFarland, I don't know if that's going to be the case. Let's say that happens. If that's the case, I don't know what Jared Bednar's future is because you want a new guy coming in. If that's the case, and then all bets are off. I don't know if and it's funny though, you're right, Cristian, because I'm thinking of these thoughts and I'm like, we would never have this before, but this is what one playoff series can do.
Yeah.
What happened to goal? Like all of a sudden, all the goalies the Colorado Avalanche have ever had are horrible. Like you're bringing in like a shaky Mackenzie Blackwood and a 34-year-old Scott Wedgwood. I don't know if I sort of believe in that, but I think it just
I don't really
those
lay that
questions.
defeat at them. You're right, it does. This makes the conversations.
But you are
happen,
right
yes.
too. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah,
I don't know.
I would also I'm also going to say this, I do want to talk about like the Bednar part of it, but
Yes.
just in terms of the Cups conversation here, the silver lining is that they have the one cup, and to be honest, the one cup is really all you need to get people off your backs. Like it really is.
Yeah.
Like the Ovechkin thing
Yeah.
really just shows you, we got off his back after he won that. It really didn't matter what he did the rest of the way, and obviously he did great things. But we will never have to talk about Nathan McKinnon being the one who didn't win a cup. He did it. He did it. To be honest, that's one is all we say to credit the greats. One is all the greats need for us to credit them. So yeah.
And you look at the biggest rival, and that's all you hear year after year. That's the point.
That's what I'm saying. That's what it just takes the one. They're already in the bonus. They're already in the gravy.
But
and
you have Dallas.
yeah.
You have Dallas still coming. You have Minnesota still coming there.
Minnesota's
like
going to
San
be
Jose,
Carolina is this in
Chicago.
the same conversation right now. San Jose obviously is the prime example, and Toronto is going to be the prime example of they never got it. Like
Yeah.
they don't have to worry about that. They really
San
don't.
Jose's a great example of that.
I don't know if they get another one with like all the teams plus Florida being healthy next year. I don't know if we're forgetting about
but
them.
it's like get to the final first. Get out of your conference. You know?
Yeah. No, yeah, that's kind of how I look at it
Yeah.
too. Like it is a good point,
Yeah.
but once you make the finals, this year will be a great tell because I think a lot of people are already crowning Vegas winners. Like maybe that's just me seeing certain media, but it's like you sweep a team and now Carolina's lost one game. I just don't understand.
Like,
and then it's
definitely
series all
don't feel
over.
like that.
But
Yeah.
anyway,
Bednar convo before we should talk about the
Bednar
Vegas side of
convo.
things too, about the Bednar convo stays or goes. I have seen like
we can talk Vegas
now-
next week because Vegas is going to be
that's a good point.
doozy.
like I just like this has been brought up by Colorado fans for multiple years now. Basically, since they won their cup, I have seen more and more every year Colorado
Last year
fans
was
saying this
big.
is on him. Like
Yeah.
like you're given this roster, you need to do way more with it. You need to make adjustments, whatever. The big one this year, and it varies team to team how much this falls on a head coach, but is the power play results, right? Like
Yeah,
No
power
that's
play
kidding.
one
was
where you
terrible.
point to coaching, and it's inexcusable to have the power play that they had this year. I don't know.
Yeah.
I think I wouldn't fault them for moving off of him because I think we've seen so many recent examples in the NHL. Don't have to look too far. Literally look at Vegas, where, like you have to end a relationship, not because, Jared Bednar has been proven to be a bad coach. They won a cup with Jared Bednar. But sometimes the relationship, for whatever reason, they might be cordial between the players and coaches. Like, it's not like a I hate you, you hate me, whatever relationship. But the working relationship, as far as achieving a championship, has passed. That window has maybe passed for whatever reason. So
Well,
I think that conversation can be had.
You think about it with like 2019 with Berube, he was there for what 3 more years after that, and then like it was done.
Bought him a lot of
Was
leeway.
it 2022?
Yeah.
Like,
he was in
you think
Toronto for
about-
2 years, so
you
2024.
think about
Yeah.
so 2024, but he was fired in 2023, I think. So 4
Okay, yes,
years
and then
after they won the
Bannister.
cup.
Yeah.
And then you have like Vegas 3 years after they win the cup, they fired Bruce Cassidy. Obviously, John
you go back
Cooper's the
to Gerard
exception.
Gallant, Pete DeBoer, right? Like Vegas has done this multiple times. There is sometimes a truth to making that change, having legitimate results. I look at it as like, your roster is obviously the foundation of your house, whatever you're building. The coach is the easiest thing to change. They're the color of paint on your walls. You can change that whenever. Honestly, sometimes, you change the color of your room, guys, it makes a big difference.
Oh,
it
huge
does,
difference.
right? So like it's an easy thing to change. That's why it's always the coach first. And yeah, we have examples of it working. It doesn't have to be a true negative on Bednar as a coach, right? I don't know.
If he gets fired, which I don't think is going to happen, let's just be honest. I don't think that's happening in this situation.
Not now.
We'd probably have more noise.
It would be
big time.
David Carl that's going to be the guy that come in. I would assume
Probably.
just based on everything about him being close to family and that being very important to him, and that being the most likely job that he would accept in the NHL. It just makes sense that if you're going to fire Bednar, that be the logical guy that you're going to go get. Obviously, the McFarland thing coming out about whether or not Nashville is targeting him, he still has another year left on his deal. I think Joe Sakic knows how important Chris McFarland is to the organization, and he's not going to let him go. So we'll see about that in the near future. But yeah, Bednar, I don't think the Bednar conversation just keeps on growing and growing year after year, which I do admit, like it's to the point where next year I would assume like that's the year where if they don't get it done, then he's probably out. But this year I'll put it to you this way. If they would have lost in the first round this year or second round this year, the conversation is a lot bigger, and there's probably a much higher chance that he gets fired if they lose to the Minnesota Wild. But because they lost in the conference finals, I do think there is a difference.
If they lost in Game 7 to Minnesota in round 2 versus getting right like that, how they lost is a little bit part of it too.
You lose to Minnesota in round 2, though. I think you're still upset with your season. If you're
because it's Minnesota
versus a sweep, right? Like that's. I think Joe, you nailed it though in terms of like. I think Carl's interest in them could dictate what they do. Like, you probably before you're firing Bednar have to have an idea of how willing Carl would be, right? Because if Carl is willing, that probably makes me more willing to move off of Bednar this year instead of waiting next year, right?
I do find it interesting with Carl, though. The only thing is, and he could be an incredible NHL coach, but is completely different, like You are managing a completely different set of people. In college, you're recruiting, you have
I
young
agree with
guys,
this.
their motivations are different. Colorado is a win now team. I can see Carl going to like a Chicago, like not coaches that this isn't places that need coaching necessarily, but your Chicago's or your San Jose's, or in some respects you could say Toronto, and I don't even know if I believe that, because they still are in sort of a, we don't know what we want to do, but we might have a push for a playoff. We need those guys where at least you're going to make a smooth transition. In Colorado, imagine you have in Denver, you have guys that are like, oh, we're interested in making the NHL or winning the championship here. And then you go right to Nate McKinnon. And he's like, yo, like, let's go. I'm swimming in the pool just so I can get to the final. It's a different beast, fair. I think. I don't know.
College coaches for sure are boom or bust, and that goes beyond hockey, right? I think there's so many examples, obviously, from the NFL, but that's almost because, like, David Quinn's a big example in the
who NHL.
I was thinking of. Exactly who I was thinking of. It went
if you fire
Bednar with New York.
If you fire Bednar, he immediately goes to Edmonton, right? Like, that's the obvious location that he has to.
Well, he becomes their contingency plan for a Cassidy thing, right? And maybe he does like leap over Cassidy. But then that means, like if Cassidy ever gets let to be interviewed, like Cassidy would go to Colorado, right? So,
yeah, if the David Carl thing falls through.
Yeah, exactly. So Colorado's got two options. All right, cool. Poor LA.
Yeah.
Well, that's the thing. No one wants to go to LA because they're so mid and they have a terrible GM.
No, they're horribly mid.
Terrible GM.
Yeah.
And they're so mid. There's no direction with that team. So like that's why they kind of are in that situation that they are. But yeah, we should move on, guys.
Yeah, we'll do Vegas talk. We'll do Marner talk.
You want to do Marner talk?
We can
move on.
We can move them. Those thoughts won't go anywhere. So yeah,
I have one.
You're gonna have to talk about them next week anyway, so it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
You're just gonna have
you have something. You have a
I don't know if we. I just wanted to bring up the general thought because it relates both teams, but just Jack Eichel. I feel like I wonder if Jack Eichel. I saw some of this chatter. Like, he's drafted second overall. He's had a much better career, I think, a career than McDavid. And even in some respects, you could say McKinnon. I don't know if I would, but you could. And if you get a second cup, whose career would you want? I think that's the question. Not who's the better player.
You're picking Eichel.
You're not
he's got a gold medal. He's got a cup. He's got.
So I know. Like, they're two separate questions.
Eichel.
And I think it is pretty black and white, where it's like the question is, you get to be a hockey player. Here are the careers in front of you. Choose it. And you're like, yes, I want the one with 2 cups, a gold medal for my country. Like, you take that one. Then there's the one where it's like, you are an NHL GM. You can have one of these players. Choose. It's like, I'm taking McDavid, then McKinnon, and then Eichel last, right? So
no question.
But I just career-wise now,
I think Eichel, I think a lot of people underrate him as an effective player on a piece where you're put because he's when you look at Vegas
center in the league.
I don't know if a lot of people will say that.
I would say he has right now. I would say his reputation.
There's no question in my mind. He's top 5.
I would say his reputation and perhaps even right now reality. It's it's a switch with Austin Matthews is what I would say. When I've watched Eichel these playoffs and just basically his entire time in Vegas. And it didn't feel like this was part of his reputation in Buffalo. The idea of like taking care of the puck and like the methodical back checks and everything.
Different.
Like they are very visible when you watch him play for Vegas. Like it is just, it's really great to watch. And that's something I used to associate with Austin Matthews, and we didn't associate Eichel with this. So I think it's been a little bit of a flip flop there. And we used to say Matthews top 5 center, maybe top 5 player in the league. You can make that argument for Eichel right now for sure, right?
Yeah,
so
you definitely can, and you probably
Eichel.
Should.
Like you go through your top 5 centers right now and tell me he's not in the top 5. There's no way. There's just no way, Alex.
No,
I'm definitely not saying. I'm just saying I think there are people that would say. For example, I look at Vegas. Is he the number? If you think of Vegas Golden Knights, is he the first player that you're thinking of? It's probably Mitch Marner. Like, I don't know.
Stone. Yeah. Him. There's also a goaltender on the team that's got a lot of people's eyes right now.
Absolutely,
what's going on? So
I agree. I just think if you think, you think of Colorado, it's Nate McKinnon. You think of Edmonton, it's McDavid. I don't know if you're thinking Eichel at the minute you say Vegas. And I just think because he plays a very important piece in that lineup, but he's underrated in the sense that he's not a generational name. And I think people need to respect him more.
I would disagree with the generational name part, but that's it.
Okay. That's fair.
If we do generational talk, we're going to be here for
hours.
He's on Barkov's level. He's on Barkov's level.
Well, what I was going to say is like we're talking about like who's the player you think of today. I think the player you're going to think of for the Vegas Golden Knights when Eichel's career is over, like he will be kind of the franchise face of the Golden Knights. Like, the Golden Knights are going to say, once upon a time, our franchise existed. We were so close in year one. The arrival of this guy named Jack Eichel started our real golden era, right? Like that's the story I would tell. So when Eichel's career is over, I think we'll say he is the number one Vegas Golden Knight in their history. That's the trajectory.
That's an interesting take, and I think that is very fair to say. If the trajectory continues, they can get swept in the finals. We don't know.
Yeah.
We got to make up. Who the hell knows what happens? But I thought it was an interesting thought. I'm curious to follow Eichel moving forward.
In 2023, Jonathan Marchessault, as we know, won the Conn Smythe.
Mm-hmm.
He had more points than Jonathan Marchessault.
Yeah, it was neck and neck between those.
That was the
like,
year.
That was also one where it's like Marchessault. We talk about he's the misfit. He's one of the original misfits, whatever. Mm-hmm. Like that was part of it too. But
like, and the thing
really
is,
good.
If there's no chance that he gets the Conn Smythe this year. There's just no chance.
No, he'd have to have an unreal. He'd have to have an unreal Stanley Cup.
Absolutely.
No,
there's still runway.
Man, there is no runway. There is no freaking runway. I will tell you this right now.
7-game series, and he has Alex. There is no 7 goals against the Sabres.
Think about this, Christian. Think about this. There is no possible chance. There is no possible chance if the Vegas Golden Knights win the Stanley Cup. There is no chance that anyone outside of Mitch Marner is winning the Conn Smythe Trophy. And it doesn't matter what anyone else does.
Unfortunately, there is a deserving party that will not get a single vote, and that's just the way it's going to be. We don't have to dissect it.
That's not even a part. Like he honestly could be the Conn Smythe, but it's not even the reasons of that I think would derail it. It's the media saying, okay, Mitch Marner is the guy here that deserves the Conn Smythe. And I don't care what anyone else says in this situation. It's Mitch Marner. Like I said,
think about this conversation.
Think about it.
Like, I don't know what to tell you.
Yeah, we'll talk. Mitch Marner could keep us here for an hour.
Do you not think that that's the case as well? Do you guys just think, it's up for grabs between Carter Hart? Like between Carter Hart, Mitch Marner, and Jack Eichel? I don't think so. I think it's a one-man wrecking crew.
Like I said, if Jack Eichel has a 5-goal series, has 10 points, and he's neck and neck in points with Marner, I think you can definitely make the argument. But what the argument you are trying to make is that it won't matter because the media will hammer the narrative of Marner has to be the Conn Smythe, which to me is just a waste of breath until it happens, to be honest. Like I'd rather just talk about who the actual deserving guys of the Conn Smythe, and if they and this is also a scenario that I'm putting in my head. Like this isn't reality right now. We'd have to actually see this happen first. It's a waste of time. Let's move on. Let's move on.
Yeah. It's not gonna happen. Don't worry about it. It's not gonna happen. 2 weeks later from now, we'll be talking.
Talking about the Eichel part, not the Marner thing. Like, that's likely right now. That's likely. Okay.
Yeah, it's definitely likely.
God.
But we'll wait. There's a lot of Vegas talk that we'll get into. We'll have no choice. We'll have no choice to talk more Vegas.
We got to move on.
We'll talk the other series because it literally happened. We're recording today on Thursday, happened yesterday. Carolina Hurricanes are up 3-1. And, the series has gone one way since game 3, you could argue. Some close games, but at the same time, there's been some games that have sort of shown the true colors in some ways of both teams. I know, Justin, you have a lot of thoughts, but essentially they get blanked 4-0 due to the Canadiens. Back-to-back losses at home, and it just felt like Carolina sort of started playing their game the minute the puck dropped in game 2, and it kind of has just continued in that direction since. I don't know, Justin, what do you think is the reason why Montreal is down 3-1 in the series right now?
Well, they haven't made any adjustments since game 1, so that's probably a starter. Like, unless, and I shouldn't say they haven't made adjustments. Maybe Marty St. Louis has tried to make adjustments, and
I
the
was gonna say, they've
Canadians
definitely
players just aren't
tried.
trying to, or they're just not getting it through their brains right now. Like, it just seems though on the ice through games 2, 3, and 4, they haven't made any adjustments, and I don't think that's because Marty St. Louis hasn't tried, but also you're the coach. You got to instill this more, and you got to get them to actually try different stuff, because it's whatever they're doing. Actually, what they're doing, it's very clear what they're doing is not working. The press of the Carolina Hurricanes is too ferocious. It is too good. And what they like to do is they like to press up at the line, and they like to eliminate your time and space coming through the neutral zone, and they will play you man-to-man immediately as soon as you get the puck. Some other teams like to back off and let you come to them. They don't like to do that. They immediately like to press. How you beat the press is you dump the puck into the offensive zone, whether it's a shot on goal, whether it's behind the boards, whatever it is. I get it sounds crazy because you're just getting rid of the puck, but sometimes to create chances, you're going to have to get rid of the puck, because the Carolina Hurricanes press won't be able to set up the same way that it is when you're trying to attack the zone, the way the Montreal Canadiens are trying to do right now. And they're also trying to find the perfect pass when they get into the zone, and they even have a chance of beating the pressure that the Carolina Hurricanes have, but they're trying to pass the puck too much to find the perfect shot. And the perfect shot just isn't there with this Carolina Hurricanes team because of how good they are defensively. The other issue is when they continue to pass the puck along and not take shots when they're wide open, like Alex Newhook last night drives down to the net on the open left-hand side going down. I think it was the third period, and he's got Freddie Anderson, no one in front of him, and instead of trying to take the shot, wide open shot, he just tries to find the open pass, and Carolina Hurricanes defender break it up in front of the net. So I forget who's there, can't tap the puck in. The point is, when you do that, when you don't take the shots, like, it's just not a good way to, like, obviously it's not a good way to produce points or produce scoring opportunities, because the more likely you take a shot that it can create a rebound, the better the chances are for the Montreal Canadiens to actually score in this type of way the Carolina Hurricanes are playing. And also, when you have an opportunity to shoot the puck, don't overthink it and take an extra second or two, because by that point, Freddie Anderson is in a great position to see the puck and have a great save at it, or a stick is already in the lane by the Carolina Hurricanes defenders. That is the biggest issues right now with the Montreal Canadiens that I'm seeing. And if I'm completely wrong and you guys are seeing something else, please tell me. But after watching game 4 last night and wanting to smash my head off my desk 5 different times, because it's like, shoot the friggin' puck. Just shoot the puck. I don't care if it's a bad shot, like, realistically, bad shot by the metrics, a low scoring chance, whatever it is, I don't care. Shoot the puck at the net. Try to generate a rebound so you can actually have a chance at beating this press. Maybe I sound stupid right now, but that's the way I see it.
No, I don't think you think you sound stupid. It's just obviously, that was a great example of just how frustrating it is to play against the Canes when they're doing their thing, right? Yeah, I don't know. I think St. Louis has tried to make adjustments, like you mentioned. We've heard him talk about this. Sometimes you have to get rid of the puck to get it back. He's alluded to that. How much we've seen of it in reality is another conversation. And then the other one is, I think he has also talked about how, sometimes we're in the right spots, but we need to decide what the next move is quicker. So he thinks that, their systems, they still believe in a lot of their systems and in an offensive standpoint. But to your point, Judd, they have to make the decision of, am I shooting this? Am I passing this quicker, more decisively? Because when you're in a state of uncertainty, you're going to end up with a lot of what we've seen, blocked shots by the Carolina Hurricanes. The Hurricanes have blocked more shots than the Montreal Canadiens have had on net in this series. What the hell, man? What the hell? No, this is obviously, there is adjustments to be made by Montreal, but does it matter if the Canes are still on their A game? I almost don't know if there is a counter to the Canes in their system, unless the Canes are the ones faltering a bit as well. because it seems like they are really enjoying creating this shot discrepancy. Like every time they step on the ice,
Yeah.
Rod has convinced these guys that we're not just here to win. We're here to make the shot clock look ridiculous. And they love it. They are up to the challenge, and they are really enjoying getting in those shot lanes and at the same time pestering Dobesh. It's really interesting to see.
I think that you also have to consider like just maybe thinking about off the rush chances. Like Montreal's getting no off the rush chances in this series. Like they did in game 1, sure. But outside of that, like there's just nothing that they're getting, and they're not getting anything in transition at whatsoever. Every time they push the puck up the ice, instead of shooting in a shooting lane, they just simply turn around, curl back, and try to find a pass for a trailing guy that's already blocked by the Carolina Hurricanes. It's like you're talking about, just take this friggin' shot. Take the shot.
It's funny because that stuff you learn that, like, I know this is so, you're breaking hockey down into like very, very simple terms, but it's genuinely what like you learn day 1, day 2, day 3 in hockey. And I know you get to NHL level, it's a completely different conversation, but that is the point of the time and space and the uncertainty. And that sort of builds into two thoughts of why I think this, outside of the system that Carolina plays, which I think is the number one reason, Montreal is the second youngest team in the NHL. And I was just looking it up while we were chatting. Like the past Cup winners, I'm looking at a graph. This is from the oilrig.ca, but I believe it, right? Okay. I've just tried to find, because it's hard to find the youngest teams.
I believe in the oil rig.
I believe in the rig. But it's hard to find specific examples of young teams that have won cups. But the last one, the youngest team, go ahead, Cristian. I don't know if you have that thought.
You might have the same stat as me, so finish what you've got there, and I'll...
No, I don't have a stat necessarily, because I wouldn't have, like, this specific graph would have been hard to break it down in the last couple of minutes, but essentially I think the youngest team in the last 20 years or so to win was the 2009-2010 Blackhawks, and they were, if I'm looking at this age right, they're about 26.5, right? And I'm looking at their group, and you have a young Kane, you have a young Taze, you have Versteeg. The oldest player on that team is John Madden at 36. Can't imagine he was a big option in the top 6 there, right? So I think when you look at the age, I think it's a young group that is finding their form, and they're running into a team where they're having a hard time sustaining pressure. They're battling against a coach that has been there for a long time. Martin St. Louis, an unbelievable coach in the short term that he's been there, but it's a young group who's played 2 7-game series. They're getting exhausted, and I think they're getting discouraged by a system that's not working. And they're having that momentary lapse in judgment where, hey, we had this open space before. We were playing different styles. We're still a young group, and the experience isn't there to understand how to make that transition. So whether it's St. Louis system not getting through, or it's just a young team that's still running into some of the hardest system play, or a team that's been there before, I think it's a tale as old as time in some respect. I don't know if you had a thought, Cristian, on like the specific stat of young teams in the Cups.
Yeah, I mean, on both fronts we were talking about there, and just the stat, it's been drilled in my mind because I think Ron McLean has brought it up at least once every series for the Canadiens, and it's a good stat, is that right now I believe their average age, and this is all based off of what is your roster on day or night 1 of the playoffs. I think their average age is either 25.3 to 25.8, something like
25.8 is what it is.
Thank you.
Okay, yeah.
So 25.8.
It would be 25.3 if they wouldn't have put, I forget who they put in the lineup that was older. No. Yeah, they put in.
Kapanen's out.
They took out Kapanen and put someone else in, or
Gallagher maybe when he's in. Anyways, whatever it is, they are looking to be the youngest team to win the Stanley Cup since the 93 Montreal Canadiens. So like there is... Yeah, which is awesome symmetry, and maybe that's why it's stuck in my head. But, yeah, to your point, Mando, I think we talked about last episode. You brought it up, the idea of Rod having some experience and knowledge he can bestow on his Canes in terms of, hey, not only have we, had bad memories in the conference finals, but I specifically have had very good memories in the Bell Center against this team. Let me tell you some of those stories. Sit around the campfire. But yeah, I think you're seeing that, Mando, the idea of they're being discouraged, or they feel discouraged and lacking a bit of confidence based off of the past series. The Sabre series was obviously a run and gun. I don't think anyone should be thinking entering the Habs Kane series that it would be run and gun. And to me, that like the number one symptom of a team that feels, or players feeling lacking on confidence or discouraged offensively, is the enter the zone and immediately curl back to look for the trailer. Because that's not a specific to any team. That's a symptom of when any hockey team is feeling in that kind of way, where they're in a rut offensively because you don't feel that you have the personal confidence to drive either to the middle of the ice or take it outside. You're afraid of either the contact or whatever, and you're looking for the next guy to pass it off to. That's the number one symptom. It is.
Yeah.
You're not wrong.
Do you wonder, Justin, I know the conversation was like, does Gallagher getting more involved? Like, do you think there's any lineup changes?
See, that's the thing that also is making me question Marty St. Louis for the first time ever. Is like I think he's been tremendous, like Cristian has said, like throughout his entire tenure as a head coach in the NHL. Obviously had no head coaching or coaching experience before getting the job in Montreal, and has done a tremendous job. But this is the first time that I'm questioning it with the lack of adjustments. And like I said, maybe he is trying to make the adjustments and they're just not getting it through their heads at the moment. But the lack of lineup changes as well is also kind of interesting to me. It's kind of frustrating as well, just because like Lane Hudson is obviously a target in this series for the Carolina Hurricanes, and Arbor Jack I like, you know what, even though we probably can't protect them, like obviously every shift you can't protect Lane Hudson, putting Arbor Jack probably, calms that down a little bit. And then also just putting a guy like Gallagher, it's like the heart and the soul of that city for like the last like 10 years, like have loved that guy. And like he would feed off that more than they would feed off him in that Game 4 last night. And I think that was a big miss by Marty St. Louis. I think not putting Brendan Gallagher in the lineup, not making any lineup changes at all, really wasn't the best decision. I think Joe Veleno should not have been in the lineup. I really just don't think that was the correct decision. I even would move Kirby Dach to center and put Brendan Gallagher in, and that's the case. And you don't even have to put Oliver Kapanen in, or you put Kapanen in over Veleno and you take Kirby Dach out of the lineup as well and put Brendan Gallagher in, because Kirby Dach's barely playing right now. So I just those are the two question marks where, like last night in Game 4, it just really came to a boiling point for me, where like this is the first time that I'm like, was that really the smartest decisions? Like, it just didn't seem. And the other thing is, they take the timeout after 1-0 last night, or after 1-0, and they decide whether or not they're going to take this offside or challenge this offside, and they elect not to do it, and they go down and score 2 more goals in the next 2 minutes and 30 seconds. You're probably wishing you had the timeout after the third goal goes in to calm them down and say, listen, like, we need to reset right now. Like, it wasn't until midway through the second period it felt like where Montreal actually was producing any chance whatsoever. You probably wish you had that timeout.
Where they had, I think, like 10 shots in the final back half of the second, but other than that, at that point it was too late anyways.
Exactly.
I have one observation on kind of the Hudson talk, and then 2 questions for you, Justin, just because you would know better than us. Observation would be like the Hudson convo in terms of like him getting pressured and targeted. That's 100% for real. That's a great plan if you can execute it, which Carolina has, because they're just so dogged on the forecheck. And I really don't know if there's any way, depending, like, I don't think it really matters who you put out there with him. There's a way to stop it, really. It's more just like, what is your counter? It's like Carolina doesn't have Lane Hudson. Their horses, Keandre Miller and Jacob Slavin, are literal horses. Like, you're not going to be able to pressure them and knock them down in the corners and really, really make their life hard. Like, Brendan Gallagher's not solving that. Maybe like a guy like Josh Anderson could, but this is just kind of the stature of these guys. It's tough to really make that counterpunch. I don't know if you feel the same about that, but that's just something I'm thinking of in terms of, I don't know how you stop Hudson.
Like, are you saying Lane Hudson's too small? Are you saying that?
I'm just like this is the approach you would take on any defense, like Quinn Hughes, right? We actually saw this.
Yeah, but are you saying like he's too small to compete? or not to compete,
No.
but to be in this type of series?
No,
is
he's
that the
obviously
point?
very, 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 very good. How do you stop it? Like, a guy's gonna
You
hit you. If
can't
a guy wants
stop
to
it.
hit
The
you,
best
yes.
thing you can do is to tell him to speed up his passes and make them pay. Because if you actually
Yeah.
if Lane Hudson can actually make a pass that is tape to tape and beat, because they're pressuring him, like you said, the forecheck is relentless on him. They're sending two guys basically every single time he has the puck. It is clear and obvious.
You're saying the
How
adjustment's
you
on him
beat that?
then?
What?
You're saying the adjustment is on him to figure
He
out, like,
has to
there's a
speed
way.
up, but he has to speed up in a way, because he's speeding up right now in a way that he's not making. He's still processing, like, in the way that like he's wants to normally process the game, and that is to scan the ice and make the correct read and skate. Use his skating ability a
Yeah.
lot. What he has to do, in my opinion, is speed up his thinking, speed up his passing, and then make the Carolina Hurricanes pay by giving up a
Yeah.
goal or two. Because if you give up a goal or two, like if Montreal gets a goal or two based off Lane Hudson making a great play that is quick, they're going to have to pull back off him. They're not going to be able to pressure, because then they're going to say, this has already killed us a couple times. That's the only way you're going to get out of that. If not, the Carolina Hurricanes are going to continue to do what they've been doing the whole time to Lane Hudson, and there's just no way around it. Like, I just don't think there's anything you can possibly do.
I think
It's
with
just
that,
on him
it's
at
like
this point.
Hudson, let's say, like, he has to make the scan of the ice faster. Well, that's based off of what is he seeing? Is there a guy in position to receive the pass? Maybe the guys
There's
who need to,
nothing. There's
get
nothing.
faster or be in position are the guys in
They
the
gotta
neutral
move.
zone, right? Like, that's the other side of the
Like,
conversation.
yeah,
as well.
it's completely both sides of the thing.
Yeah.
Of like, I guarantee you look up the ice and he's seeing nothing.
Yeah, Mando, do you
Like,
have
he's
anything on
just
this,
seeing
or I just have a couple
nothing.
questions? that we
Just
can
the
weigh in
idea
on?
that I think you can compare Lane Hudson a lot to. I've watched a lot of Quinn Hughes in these playoffs
Mm-hmm.
when he was in, and he has the puck. When he's on the ice, he has the puck probably 75% of every shift he's on, right?
More than any player in the NHL, like factually
And
by the
it's-
stats.
Exactly. And it's very easy to notice because he is comfortable with the puck. He notices situations and he curls back more than anybody. Like, he walks the line more than anybody.
Elusive.
And Lane Hudson, I think, has that opportunity to do that. But I just think, again, it's an easy cop-out. But what is this? Is his second playoff run, which is his third year in the league. So it's kind of like, okay, let's just take a
Second
pause.
year.
It's a second now. Yeah, second year.
He
So I think
only
when you think of
played-
it that way, yeah, and he's going to be to the same level, if not at least around the level of Quinn Hughes, where he's a better player when the puck's on his stick and he can control play. I just think it's his first set of adversity where Carolina made the right adjustment. And I don't know what the answer is, but you're just noticing that he will figure it out. I just think this playoffs, I don't know if it's just too late at this point for him to make that adjustment.
At least he's not shying away from the media, that's for sure.
No,
Like,
I think that's important.
He's going after games and saying, like, it's my fault. Like, even after game 4, he said, I think the only guy that showed up was Dobish. Like,
Yeah, I saw
we
that.
all played like crap.
Yeah, I saw that quote as well.
Yeah,
So, and then in game 3, he's like, would be nice to be up 2-1, but it's my fault. So, like, you got to move on. But
well, Cole Caulfield could have stayed on side, possibly. I mean, it could have gone a couple different ways, right?
No. That's just a millimeter away. Like, that's just nothing. Like, and that's the thing about this. Do you have control of the puck or not? Like, that's stupidest.
I mean, that's
rule ever.
obviously a different conversation. But it is funny, though, when you look at this series, I think a lot of people were weirdly writing off Montreal after losing game 3 when it was back-to-back overtime losses. Yes, you look at the shot disparity and the control of the puck on the ice, but it was that close. It did feel like Carolina sort of saw that and said, like, we're just going to keep playing our game and we're going to continue the way we're doing it, and it'll eventually the dam will break. And we're at this
I
point.
agree, man.
They
Like,
were
after
right.
game 3, you could just as easily have the conversation of, man, Montreal's playing this bad, and it's overtime has been the difference, right? You're thinking there's so much room for growth. There's so much in our hands, right? Like, I definitely didn't go into last night thinking that's what we were going to see.
No.
You would expect in game 4. That's why you'd expect in game 4 for there to be adjustments, and they're just like I keep going back to. Maybe he did try to put adjustments in, and they just didn't get it. But it was the exact same thing that they did in games 2 and 3. and
Yeah.
it did not work, obviously. So
Okay.
we go to game
Other
5.
questions here. Dobson. I want a Dobson review from you. Honestly, the trade might have been 1 year to the day, not to the actual day, but like
No, it's not.
wasn't it in the playoffs? Am I
It was
misremembering?
June.
Was it draft
the
time?
day.
I thought
It was
around
the day of the
draft
draft.
time.
It was
Okay.
the
It
day
was
of the draft.
Yeah.
All right. 11
Yes.
months after. What is the Noah Dobson experience? Because I found myself realizing, during this Montreal Canadiens run, considering, how good he was with the Islanders at times and considering, what they gave up to get him, he immediately signs the contract. There's just hasn't been as much Noah Dobson talk as you'd imagine, I think, when the trade happened. So
'Cause he's
I just
number
want
2
kind of the
defenseman.
inside out. Has he been playing number 2? Like I'm not saying this from
He's
like
the number 2 defenseman. He's been the number 2 defenseman all year. He's been consistently
Okay.
their second best defenseman. Is he having the best playoffs? No. I did see people or Islanders fans start to say like, "Oh, Canadiens fans should turn on Dobson. He's turned the puck over a lot." Ha ha ha. I wouldn't say that's the case. I would say like you'd expect a little bit more offensively from him. I think he's still adjusting to a new team, new system in terms of how they want him to play. I think it's completely different to just be the running gun 70-point guy that he was in New York, because you have Lane Hudson there. You don't need him to be that. He still did have like 50 points this year on the back end, which kind of went untalked
Well, that's what I'm
about,
saying in terms of like
because
it feels like hasn't been talked about a lot. And I don't bring him up to be like, gotcha, this guy sucks in the playoffs. That's not what I'm trying to do, because honestly,
well, game 3, it was so annoying him icing the puck time after time after time. Just
I
take
look
an
on the
extra
other
step
side.
and look down the ice, man. Just take an extra step. Like
In
jeez.
Vegas, you look at Rasmus Anderson, who I think is playing, I want to say like 24 minutes a night. And I think he's only picked up 5 assists for them. So it's just interesting. These are 2 guys who were traded in the past year, and it just feels like, Anderson
like
has
he's
also
not played
been very
bad.
under the radar.
He's not being talked about. Like, and I don't think it's like Matheson has done more offensively than what he has done.
Yes, and that's what. So like, I feel like Matheson in my head still feels like the actual number 2.
I actually agree.
Yeah, and that's not by design.
It's a good problem to have.
I
Right?
guess if you look at it that way, like Matheson to me has turned the puck over more than, or has been more of a problem than Dobson's been a problem in terms of like giveaways and stuff like that, costly turnovers, like against Buffalo in the game 7 in overtime. Matheson's the one who turned the puck over, and Tage Thompson has an easy breakaway opportunity 2-on-1, and then he tries to toe drag Dobish, and that's the one where he gets the pad up and stops him.
Yeah,
but that could have very easily been the goal,
so fun,
and Mike
man.
Matheson just made that turnover and just didn't skate back.
Yeah, that's a good point.
I don't. This wasn't the point of the conversation, but I was like, you know what? Let me just look. And again, I don't mean this negatively, but the trade, I did not remember that they gave up 2 first-rounders and Emil Heineman.
Yeah.
Emil Heineman had 22
okay
goals this year.
Yeah, well, that's also
he was honestly their Oliver Kapanen. Like, I think he was also being healthy scratch. Like, you know what I mean? Like, there was
he was. The problem with like looking at that is like he got to play more because he was on a bad team, in my opinion.
I mean, he was like Heineman was good
team.
for them last year. It was a similar scenario, but also Heineman is the least important asset in that trade.
Yeah,
right?
They drafted
Keyshawn,
Eklund and Aitchison.
Aitchison and Eklund. Like those are the 2 big things. And
Dobson's in the playoffs. They're in the Eastern Conference Final.
Yeah,
Like, it's not like a negative trade.
Solid,
That surprised me.
It's a win-win trade because like it's a solid defenseman at 25 years old. You locked up, right? Like it's a right-hand shot defenseman that
people were not poo-pooing this trade at the time. People
and they aren't now. I just
damn it,
that just surprised me.
Yeah, it's still obviously a trade that has lots and lots of runway, but it's just a thought that I had in terms of like we don't talk.
But he did have an underrated
Dobson
season,
right
untalked about season that I would say like didn't really get us a lot of spotlight. And
I
would
think
really help.
Hudson's a big reason for that, though. I think,
takes
right?
up
Like
so much of the
he's
offense. Yeah.
clearly the guy.
Yes.
Like who's the
Yes.
second best defenseman again on Minnesota? Like it gets
Right? It's like,
Faber.
don't care.
Yeah, but it's like if
Yeah.
Faber pushes because they play together, right? But it's just
Yes.
I don't know. It's
Yes.
just different. It's
No,
interesting
it's
thought.
true.
But they also complement each other
Yes.
better than what Dobson and Hudson complement each other.
Correct.
They-
Yeah.
Yeah.
100%.
Hudson
Bit
and
more-
Dobson
bit more
have to play
overlap.
separately.
Yeah. Absolutely they do.
Well, I mean,
They have
overlap
to
too with
play with
Matheson, like you
different
mentioned as well, right? So
Yeah, and see, that's also an issue is having too many offensive defensemen, and I think that's the biggest issue with this team. Is sure everyone's looking for a Mike Matheson, but you already have two of them that are better than Mike Matheson.
I think that's where Cade,
roster
but
management.
that's why I think where Cade and Gooley, no one wants to draft those players, but I think that's a big draft piece by them to get a guy like that.
Yeah,
No, we
you
can
also
dissect
have-
the whole blue line, but I think that's a good point as well.
You have Caden Gooley, you have Alexander Carrier, and then you have the defensive defenseman in Arbor Jack-Eye or Jaden Struble. The other one that's coming up next year, he has to be coming up next year, is David Reinbacher. So, and he's a defensive defenseman as well. Yeah, it's either that or he gets traded this offseason. We talked about this yesterday on the phone because there's just no chance that he either has to play in the NHL next year or he gets traded. There's just no other opportunity here for the Montreal Canadiens and David Reinbacher at this point. It just has to be one of the two options. Don't know which one it's going to be yet, but it's going to be one of those two. Anyway, I'm done with the Montreal Canadiens.
Yeah, question.
Can we just talk about do we have any theories on the home ice thing? Like,
okay, we're not going to talk about
yeah.
that. We're not talking about that. We're not talking about that. That's ridiculous. If they're
I-
2-6 at home,
They're 2
I
and
have
6
no
at home?
idea
Yeah.
what is going on
Okay.
at home. On home ice, I have no idea. I have absolutely zero idea.
I
It is
also
the best
remember,
environment in the NHL. I have zero idea. I have
I have a
zero
theory.
answers for you. I have zero. I have no idea. Is it the pressure of watching someone come in with a torch and saying, "Ooh, this guy was a champion back in the day, and I can't live up to that"? Oh wait, then they decide to bring in Halak, who didn't win a championship with the team, and that didn't end up working either. So I have no idea.
I have a
No
theory.
idea.
Mando,
I have a
you
theory.
have an idea? Okay.
Originally, my thought was it is the pressure. And I'm like, but that's insane. Like, who would not want to play in that environment if you're a home player? Like, that's crazy. I actually think it's because all the away teams are like, forget this crap.
Oh, they're so
like-
jacked up. Like,
Yeah,
wow,
I'm not
this is
losing on
sick.
this stupid. Like, and then listen, Bell Center is
okay.
unquestionably the best environment in the NHL. And you can argue the North American sports, it might be up there. Like, there's so many debates on that.
Sure,
However,
sure.
imagine you're Carolina, you're Buffalo. What the hell they play in the first round? Tampa. And they come in and they're like, I'm not like, who cares about all this crap? There's red in the stands. I want to prove that we're going to shut this crowd up. I think teams get more excited and jacked up of the possibility of quieting a crowd like that than Montreal gets feeding off of it. And maybe that's just because the young team, they haven't taken advantage of the benefit that comes with the Bell Center yet. And it's the first time in however long. But at the same time, since it's been so long, you'd think the crowd's louder. I don't know. I think it's the away team just gets more juice from it being the villain in the home environment.
I like that theory. It's so interesting because, this obviously changes year to year. Like, I think about, like, the Jays. Who would say that they don't get a boost from the Rogers Center? If baseball does feel a little bit different, but no, I don't think there is, like, an actual, like, we can't be, like, definitively, that's the reason why. Like,
You want me
but
to
man, I like that theory, though, Mando. I do like that.
You want me to
Thank
be
you,
mean?
thank you.
You want me to be mean?
Here we go. Yeah.
What about the corporate building of Toronto? What about that building, huh?
Oh,
What
dude,
kind of- what-
do you think? Yeah,
Well,
do
how
you
do you
think
guys
we're
do at
about
home?
to?
How do you guys do at home? You
Oh,
guys
dude,
do so
well, I
well at
think-
home, don't you? You guys
no, we don't. We
perform
don't.
for that crowd. Oh
No,
my
but I'm
gosh,
try-
they are the
this
best
changes
crowd
for
in the
the
NHL.
same teams.
You know what?
Year
I
to
should,
year.
I should
Dude,
just concede
When the
that.
Blues won the cup, like, I think they were like an incredible. Didn't they have a series where every road team won? Like, the road team won every game. I think the Blues had
Yeah.
a series in that cup.
Oh, that makes sense.
It's a
man.
thing in the
Well,
NHL.
explanation
It's
for
a
any of
thing in
this
the
year.
NHL in general.
I think it's just a thing in sports where just sometimes teams get in this, like, on any given season. I'm not saying anything, and I'm definitely not coming here and saying, well, Bell Center should be more like the library at Scotiabank. No. Also, to Mando's point,
No,
teams love to
clip
come
that.
into
We're clipping
Scotiabank
that.
Arena and say, "Look at
They
these
do.
stupid Toronto fans. I'm
Yeah, they
from
do.
Toronto, and I don't even like you, stupid idiot. I'm gonna beat up on." They love it. They love to. They love to make it a library. Of course, who wouldn't? Easy bulletin board material. So, yeah, no,
I'm gonna
not
clip
over the
that.
fence for that.
I'm gonna clip that.
God. Look, my camera's telling me our takes are too hot right now, guys. God.
I know. I can see that.
I don't know what's going on here with your camera. It's all hot up in here.
I'm out of questions and thoughts, boys. Unless you
yeah,
have for
I bet
hockey,
you
at
are out
least.
of questions. You just you just
Yeah. We'll see.
All right, the
We'll have
series
more
is over,
hockey.
guys. We're on to 2027. The Montreal. Okay, in 2020 hindsight, when we talk about the Canadiens next week and the fact that they got eliminated, this is I'll just get ahead of it. It is a very successful season for the Montreal Canadiens. It would be absolutely stupid to say it otherwise.
Hard to argue.
This is an absolute success, smash to the park, 110% best season. Considering you only traded for Philip Deneau at the trade deadline as well, you didn't really, that was mid-season. You didn't even do much to bring in any assets. You still basically have your whole entire core. You have all your picks. You have all the prospects, like we said. This is a massive season and trajectory for the Montreal Canadiens, and to make it to the Eastern Conference Finals, a place where the Toronto Maple Leafs didn't even make it in their 10-year decade as a franchise core, then you know what? It's a pretty good place to be right now. So I'm going to look at this in 2020 hindsight.
We can sympathize, brother, because I've told myself those things, right? That's what you should do as a fan. Like, that's what you tell yourself. And I'm not saying that as like, oh, you tell yourself that because you're never going to win. I'm just saying that's just what anyone should do, right? You look at the bright side, and there's lots of bright side for Montreal still. They're not out of sunshine. So
no, if Toronto had lost the way they did to Florida last year in year 2, year 3. That would have been a major.
We might still have a freaking Bradshaw living in Craig Berube, man.
That's also true. That's also true, though.
Yes,
that could be a negative.
No, I put it to you this way: Toronto, obviously they lose to Washington. We said this was a freaking awesome learning experience. That was the first round. We lose to Boston the next year. Obviously, you make it to a game 7, you lose.
We made it,
but you were still, saying, "God."
No, we're not talking about the Maple Leafs.
No, you brought them up.
I'm giving you example of like this.
You guys lost in the first round year after year after year.
You're retinas, baby.
Okay, we lost in the first round, and then we go to the Eastern Conference Finals the next year. There's a difference.
Yeah, look, there's
immediate difference.
It takes
100%.
It will take a lot for Leafs fans to admit that anything positive really about the Canadiens. They're a likable team. And they had a good year.
It pisses them off even more.
They're a likable team. You can't hate against the Canadiens.
The great thing is that, to be honest, teams can get as far as they want if you're not the one hoisting the silver thing at the end. You know what I mean? To be honest,
Carolina
fans,
right? Like
no one cares.
Toronto fans will wake up fine like when the Habs are eliminated because they were eliminated. Like the only world where they don't end up feeling fine is when they're hoisting the silver thing. And that's how it's gonna be, right? Like, yeah, maybe that's me coping. I don't know. You tell me, but I don't know.
No, you're not wrong. And that's the same way it'll be for Montreal Canadiens fans with Toronto Maple Leafs fans.
Correct.
And you know what?
I mean, real ones.
This is how it should be.
Or if you're not a real fan, and you're just like, you know what, I would cheer for the Cup to come to Canada, then you probably don't care. Like, I've seen that the last couple of weeks.
The only thing I want to sort of push back on from people that are saying, like, if you're in Toronto and you're upset because of if Vegas, Montreal, like, oh, if you're picking this, you're stupid. If you're picking that's stupid. You should be mad. You should hope both teams lose. And if someone says otherwise, then they don't follow the sports. I think you could be upset both ways. I think that's a fair reaction.
You should be upset. If Montreal made the final and Vegas made the final, you should hope that the world gets absolutely nuked.
Exactly.
And there's no chance that the Stanley Cup final gets handed out this year. That's what you hope for if you're a Toronto fan. Like, and that'd be the same
obviously, you don't want to see either team win. However, I've had this conversation with so many people over the past couple of weeks, and for me, at least, by far, I'd much rather see Vegas win than Montreal. If we ended up with a Vegas Montreal final, it's Toronto, as far as the Marner thing is concerned, you've gone through it before. Obviously, different context, different degrees to the retribution. But Phil Kessel and Nazem Kadri, like those guys existed. You know what? Phil Kessel's retired. Are we like, still talking about that? No. One day Nazem Kadri will retire. Honestly, people are already love him despite the suspensions and everything. One day Mitch Marner will retire and not be a hockey player. The Montreal Canadiens are not retiring anytime soon. You have to live with them.
I see that.
Always and forever.
I actually don't, because you hate the Bruins because of the Bruins, and
yes,
that's a good point.
That's it. So
Larry Murphy was actually the first guy, the defenseman, a few years ago, gets traded to Detroit, wins immediately, and he was the whipping boy in Toronto. I guess that's a good point.
So it's not even a conversation for me, boys. Like, I'd much rather see Vegas win any day of the week from the fan standpoint over Montreal. Yeah.
Damn, you'd really just big-minded us, eh?
Luckily, we won't have to have that conversation.
Very small mind here.
Yep, you're right. We won't have to have that conversation.
At least
It'll
this
be
year.
Carolina within the next. Actually, you're listening to this the day that Carolina will advance to the Stanley Cup final. That's exactly what this is.
Conversation a week ago,
mate.
Anyways.
Hey, was there any
Luke Colbar just scored, guys?
There we go. Anyways. We're all the way back. Was there any other like specific topics that you guys wanted to discuss?
I want to talk about one more thing, and that is your guys' precious little number 1 overall pick. Okay, who do you guys want? Is Gavin McKenna? Let's just frame this question. This is going to be clipped anyway. Is Gavin McKenna? Okay, now I have to restart the question because you guys went off. You guys see what you guys do when you start laughing? It just throws me off my game here. Okay, is Gavin McKenna solidified as the number 1 overall pick for the Toronto Maple Leafs, or is it up for debate on what they should do with the number 1 pick still?
Man, this is gonna be a long clip. You got space for a 15-minute clip, bro? I don't know.
Okay, well, you just ruined it, but you know what? It's fine.
It's still very much fun.
This jump cuts and everything. But anyways, I don't think you can say it's 100% decided. Like, maybe for me in my mind it is, but obviously look around everywhere and we have mock drafts or Chase Reed's going number 1 overall, and polls from not players, from scouts across teams talking about it. I'm very frustrated by the fact that we're watching Ivar Stenberg right now at the World Championships, and he's been awesome alongside Viggo Bjork, who a lot of teams are talking about. God, I hope that guy falls to us because he looks sick as a centerman. Even though he's small, he looks awesome. I hate that we can't contrast that with Gavin McKenna at the World Championships, right? Like, I went to bed the night of the draft lottery after spending legitimately 4 hours watching McKenna and Stenberg clips. Not just, their play, not just the highlights. I was watching interviews that both of these guys did, slight documentaries and whatever, miniseries, all this crap. And, I went to bed and said, it's great that this conversation isn't over and I get to watch these guys both at the World Championships. It's going to be great. Like, this conversation isn't over yet. I woke up the next morning and read that McKenna pulled himself out of the World Championships for Team Canada. I'm still confused to this day as to what that was. I think the article at the time, it was basically just to focus on the NHL Combine, which is coming up this weekend. But I think back to 10 years ago with Patrick Laine and Austin Matthews, who were both playing at the World Championships, and I got to do that little bit of scouting for myself, and I left that tournament made up in my mind, these guys are choosing Matthews. There's no way they're going with the winger. This Matthews guy is way too valuable. Oh my God. And I can't do that this year. I can't make up the mind for myself. I'm not at ease in terms of who they're picking. My pick as of today would be McKenna. But the Stenberg and McKenna absence does, leave the conversation open. That's where I'm at right now.
Yeah, it's hard to argue anything else then. It should, like, and look, if you talk to all the scouts in the Maple Leafs front office, I'm sure there's that little clip that came out a couple days ago, a week ago, of their brief conversation. People are, oh my God, who are they talking about? Are they talking about McKenna? These teammates can't keep up with him. There's going to be those debates. The interesting thing about the media is that we're never going to get to a draft where there is no conversation about it, right? The most important part of it is, like you said, Cristian, like, it shouldn't be 100% decided. I think it would almost be a negative if we came out and they said, we're like, you hear Fernando Mendoza NFL is already like doing commercials like in Vegas. Like, it's like, I'm making that up, but the point is that's already decided. You're never going to find that in the NHL. So I think it would be malpractice to them who have already made their decision. But that being said, I think it's important to note that they're doing the due diligence, and I think it's the decision whether it's organizational fit or if it's the best player available. Those are the two conversations. I think it's up for debate, but I think until this point, the best player available has been Gavin McKenna. I think you can't shoot yourself in the foot if down the line he ends up not developing in a certain way. I don't know if that ends up being the case. I think it should be Gavin McKenna as well. I don't know. I mean, this is the conversation that's going to happen for the next couple of weeks. But if it's my decision, I think I'm going McKenna. I'm just thinking, because I guess my conversation or my thought would be like, why else would there be other thoughts as to why McKenna didn't go, right? And I think the year that Matthews got drafted he was in Zurich.
Correct.
Right? He's playing against men. So my only thought would be like, is there just too much transition that McKenna was like, I played a lot of hockey this year. Mind you, he'd go from the WHL to NCAA where you're playing a lot less hockey. So it's like, wouldn't you want to play another couple of games? So I'm just trying to think of the comparison.
Maybe we're going to get some clarity after the fact from him. Like maybe someone will ask him about it at the combine.
So you guys are actually making a big deal about him not going to the World Championship. You guys think Gavin McKenna?
It would be more of a luxury. It would kind of quiet down not quiet down. Like it opens up the opportunity for, if he had like 2 points in 8 games, then that makes this conversation even louder. But the fact that
so you're basically saying you're saying this opens the door for a debate. If he goes there,
it opens the door for us in the media to really make this conversation larger than I think it would be. Let's say Stenberg wasn't at the World Championships. Right? This conversation is quieter.
It probably is
larger than what it is. Like
I think it always will be though.
I think him
going and McKenna not going gives it a little bit more leeway.
But him going and or Stenberg going and Gavin McKenna not going, like I don't think it's the biggest deal in the world. Like at the end of the day, it's a tournament.
Should the World Championships be the World Juniors, let's say, should you value that more or less than a showing from an 18-year-old at a tournament that's dominated by men, 2 months before the draft? Why shouldn't you value what happens at the World Championships? It's a fantastic
I'm not saying you shouldn't value it, but you shouldn't hold Gavin McKenna back and say, hey man,
I'm not, and he's still my pick. Like I said, so I'm on the record. Basically, this is how my thought process went. So that night, like I said, I'm looking at the McKenna highlights. I'm looking at the Stenberg highlights. Might have even looked at some Chase Reed highlights. It was like going to a buffet. You take a little bit of everything, you put on your plate, you munch on a bit of it. But when you start munching on the stuff on your plate, you realize you really, really like this one food. And ever since that night, I kept going back for the same food at the buffet, boys. And that's Gavin McKenna. That's kind of how I look at it. So, my first time up to the plate, I needed to do some taste testing. But Gavin McKenna was the answer. Listen, any reservations I have for McKenna probably have more to do with, like you said, Mando, what does the development path look for? That is an organizational conversation. I always bring up the point to you guys. If Matthews, Marner, and Nylander were Boston Bruins, we'd be talking about them like David Pastrnak and Charlie McAvoy and whatever. And that has to do with the Bruins' culture and development. So with McKenna, any concerns I have is, are the Toronto Maple Leafs going to turn Gavin McKenna into a more well-rounded player, or is he going to be under the tutelage of guys who have kind of fallen into a trap where the skill gets emphasized at the lack of other areas, right? Still the correct choice is take the best player.
Yes.
And you need to make organizational changes to develop him properly. That doesn't change what the answer should be. So that's where I'm at.
Exactly right. If you would be a bad organization if you said, we don't believe in our development staff, so we're going to take the best NHL ready player. That's not a way to run an organization. So I think with that being said, you're hoping that the front office, whether it's under a new regime or an old regime, you would hope, let's take that best player. Would Chase Reed probably make a bigger impact on a team that's ridden with defensive issues? Yes, he probably would. And that's a massive aspect of it. But then on the flip side, not that this should be the number one priority, but if the conversation is what will make Austin Matthews happy, if that's the problem, will it be a generational, hopefully talent? I know that's I'm kind of tongue in cheek saying it.
He's talking about it from their perspective if they're in that mindset. That is a separate conversation. But
you're picking the best player is the agreement there.
I'm going to give one credit to Stenberg where I think he just has this over McKenna, and it's less to do on ice. Ivar Stenberg will be, I think, part of like a leadership core for whatever team drafts him. I listen to his
for sure.
interviews, and he reminds me of like Nico Hischier. So
Yeah.
he has like, he's really mature, and I've just listened to some of his questions from like the World Championships or his answers, and I like what I hear from him. He's mature for an 18-year-old. McKenna, it's a little
Nice.
stock, it's a little dry. It's obviously not going to be the make or break, but it's just something I've noticed. I like Ivar Stenberg as a person from what I've seen from him so far. So
That's good insight. I the funny thing is you see all these draft, and this is how the NHL draft goes. But it's like if Stenberg doesn't go 1, he's probably going 4. Like that's
Crazy.
just the way it seems. I'm crazy.
I love. No, I'm
he's
saying
not
which is crazy.
going
which is crazy. Yeah,
He's not going 4. He's not going 4.
Everyone suggests it seems that Malhotra is the consensus 3. And number 2 is obviously very, very up in the air. Do the Sharks even
if
take
the Canucks
anybody?
want to pass on Stenberg over Malhotra, I think that's just stupid by them. But they can go ahead and do that. That wouldn't surprise me. But
if you needed, like, if you have nothing, if you have essentially zero, you're starting from scratch, which it feels like the Canucks are. Are you taking a center or are you taking a winger? You're just taking a center. That's just like what I know. We just argued about taking the best player. I know that's counterintuitive, but that's just sort of not how it works.
The Malhotra wrinkle is interesting though, with like
that's big too.
The father-son thing. It really
would
is.
Be so crazy.
Yeah. The other thing is like, if San Jose doesn't take him, are they trading that pick to get a defenseman and then someone else comes into that slot and takes him? That'd be the other thing that I would think about, because I could see them doing that.
To have this, because they could be trading the second, and like you said, like they might be just saying, yeah, we're trading the second overall pick for 4th jokes. Like, you know what I mean? Like they could just be moving back 2 spots, still take a defenseman and get a little bit something back. It's not like they're trading 2 for like a singular player, right? So
that's what I mean.
Definitely.
Who the hell knows? Yeah.
Anyway,
but this is why this stuff's so fun to talk. The draft is like, I get so fired up, even if the Leafs aren't involved.
I love it, man.
It's
I do too. We've had some really good NHL drafts lately in terms of like the surprise. Beckett Seneca, we still have that great meme from him when he was even he was surprised, right? If the players are surprised, you better believe we are too. We don't know what the hell we're talking about, obviously, but
and you talk about the biggest one was Slafkovsky getting drafted 1 and Shane Wright staring guys down. Where's Shane Wright now? Like, no disrespect, but
God, man,
it's still very early. But unfortunately, that has not aged well.
No.
I don't know, dude. So no, this stuff is very exciting.
You're saying like he's not in the.
He's playing.
No, but Mando's right. Like, what do you mean?
I agree. The way that Mando said it, though, it was like, is Shane Wright overseas right now playing as the 4th overall pick?
That is, and look, I don't want to fall into the trap either. You don't want to judge guys like year 3, year 4, whatever, but that is the way that of reality now. Like, you don't perform in year 1.
Terrible. Their development system looks terrible in Seattle right now. Beniers, Shane Wright, number 4. You have oh my gosh, who they drafted and they brought him up this year. Oh, Catton, Berkeley Catton. They brought him up. He didn't have a great rookie year either. They're just not looking good on their development side right now.
We'll see. Seattle, they need a defenseman there. We can get into this for hours, but I guess we'll see.
Wrap it up.
We should wrap it up. Christian's camera's going to literally explode on when we're finishing the app. But all that said, boys, a lot of hockey talk. Clearly, we'll get to a little bit more next week. Just dominating, but there's a lot to get into. We'll have some likely Stanley Cup finals by the time next week. We'll talk a lot more NBA. There's a great series that'll wrap up by the time we get there in terms of the Spurs and Thunder, and a lot of MLB talk we'll get to next week. So exciting stuff. Other than that, thank you for listening to episode 62. Other than that, we'll catch you next time. Have a great weekend.